That's crazy.
Getting my weed together. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So while you're doing the intro, I'm gonna skim this.
Okay. Welcome back to Blunt in the Bedroom. I'm with Aurelie. My name is Patty, and we are recording from the cozy comfort of each of our bedrooms here in the wildly wonderful legal cannabis state of Oregon. We're going to have our blunts, and we're going to be blunt. Maybe not blunt enough, maybe too blunt, but you get to decide that. So, what are you smoking tonight, Aurelie?
I actually have the thing right here. I'm smoking apple fritter.
Well, what's up with the dessert theme tonight? Because I'm smoking biscotti pancakes. Okay, let's be real. They're just they've lost the plot when it comes to naming strains at this point. So tonight we're going to go back to Egypt's Giza Plateau, and we're going to see if we can keep our stoned attention on the pyramids themselves a little bit more this episode, because last time we kept getting distracted with all the shininess of Egypt in general. And but clearly we haven't had quite enough of this fascinating place on the planet. So for tonight, we're going to investigate some stellar alignments, geometrical correlations, and construction theories. And who knows where else we will take our conversation, as we like to hyperlink it. Yeah.
So this is fascinating. Like how they I mean, okay, I think it's better if you explain what you know about it more first because I did not know any of this that you wrote down.
Okay. Here, I'm going to turn on my
Oh, you use a pen? We'll say still give me headaches.
actual smoke is not terribly appreciated by the humans I live with.
Makes sense.
All right. The thing I remembered after we talked last time about this was the one conspiracy theory that well, okay, not one, there's more, but one of the true conspiracy theories that I remember hearing about the pyramids was the notion that they had been used as a giant battery, like the pyramids themselves, which I don't know. I love this idea a lot because as we get into other topics that I know we're interested in, like Atlantis is probably going to figure prominently here pretty soon. I think they're kind of on par with each other. This notion that ancient civilizations kind of had a lot of shit figured out, and maybe in a different way than we've figured it out today. So the notion of Egypt having these big pyramids that created somehow power from the different parts of it is amazing. Out of
Yeah.
stone, right? Stone and metal. So yeah, the people who claim that the pyramid may have been a battery, what they cite for that is they're saying that the shafts that run up through the pyramid were conductive in some way, and that the limestone on the outside of the pyramids would have been somehow generating power from water that was underground under the pyramids.
Hmm.
To see what their evidence for these, aquifers or whatever underneath the pyramids is. But in a way, it kind of makes sense because we know that whole area is kind of riddled with tunnels everywhere underneath. So if there were water sources down there that they needed to get to, it sort of makes sense. Also the physics or whatever of how water under stone with limestone on the outside turns it into a battery. Not entirely sure about that.
Well, power is not created or destroyed, it's only transferred. And moving water holds it's a lot of energy in that in moving water. I mean, it's how dams work, right? Like or I don't know about dams, but hydroelectric power or whatever. Like there's like it generates water. I mean, generates a lot of energy. So maybe somehow, I mean, I don't understand it either. I'm not pretending to understand it, but I think that there's probably ways that could work. Moving,
Yeah.
I don't understand how. At all. Like I can't wrap my mind around it, but I do think it's possible.
Okay. Well, I wonder what the limestone had to do with it, because I don't know if it, I think in our heads we think of these pyramids have always just been like sand colored, right? But they weren't. They
Oh,
were they were coated in, not coated, they were sheathed in white limestone. And then the very hippie top capstone of the pyramids was gold plated. Yeah.
oh,
So these things were not just like a human made mountain, right? Like they would have been, I mean, think about that. That area is flat and dry. And so the visibility distance is enormous. And so if there's these three bright, white, shiny pyramids with a gold cap on it, that shit is going to show for miles and miles.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, right? So I don't know how that all figures into a battery, but it sure makes me wonder about the civilization that lived around it. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, and then apparently, they were also air conditioned.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and
Whoa.
probably, I mean, it's not going to be like our kind of air conditioning, I'm sure, but I mean, again, I could see, I don't understand how it would be air conditioned back then, but I could see it being possible,
Mm.
especially if there was running water like close to it, if it's powering a fan that which heat rises, so if if it's pushing the heat up
Huh.
or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly how they did it. Probably not. Probably more sophisticated than that. But I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is
Because you
pretty
think that it'd be
cool.
really hot.
Well, right. Because what it says is it's believed to have acted like a Tesla coil, but I'm not as familiar as I should be with a Tesla coil. But I thought a Tesla coil was like ripping the air apart or something,
Hmm.
like ripping oxygen atoms apart and creating ozone, which is O3, like ripping an O2 and
Yeah.
something like that. Tesla coil does something crazy like that or creates plasma. Did I say that already?
No, you said O2 or
Yeah.
ozone.
Yeah.
I
So
missed.
I don't remember. All of those are randomly floating around in my head when it comes to Tesla coils, but who knows
I don't
then?
know. I've never even heard of a Tesla coil.
It's like this tall thing. It kind of looks like the what's that thing in Seattle, the Space Needle? It kind of looks like that. So it's got this like orbital looking top on it. But it shoots basically lightning out of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why are we doing things like that? What the fuck?
Oh, it gets
Every
better.
time I
People
hear these crazy things, I'm like, why are we fucking with nature?
No, people can put themselves in an entire metal suit of some kind. I forget there's a special name for it. With like basically a metal chainmail suit head to toe. And because they're completely surrounded by this object, they can touch the electricity side to side or something, and it just like goes on the suit and not them.
Why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah, if there's like a hole in it or something's fucked up with the suit, you die. So
What is up with people needing that kind of adrenaline? It is so this okay. This takes me right back to that submarine from earlier this year. Because why are we fucking with shit that we shouldn't fuck with? We could send entire robots and watch it on a screen. Like
true.
it doesn't make sense. But okay, if somebody just wants to pretend that they can like control lightning, because that's the only reason I can fathom for somebody to want to do that, to sit there and be a superhero. Like, look at me being almost like Elsa.
True.
Elsa's the first one that came to mind, but she's ice. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Shooting
Like,
elemental shit out of your hands.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That you understood that train of thought, even though I couldn't articulate it. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a tangent about the Tesla coil. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring it
Yeah, that's
back.
okay. Well, so you may be asking yourself, what happened to those limestone panels that were on the outside? Panels, blocks, I don't know, that were on the outside of the pyramids.
Mhm.
Well, I will tell you, because an earthquake hit the area right about 1300 Common Era and shook that shit loose. And so once they were all loose and a few had fallen off, people decided it was pretty good to use those to make the new city that was getting built. So there may even be some old temples deeper in the whatever urban area is near there
Wow.
that have the original sheathing stones from the pyramids.
Wow.
I mean, they say every civilization is built with the rubble of the last, and they're not wrong. Look, and I don't know what the next one's going to do, because look what we're doing. We're all the way to concrete, right? We've just taken the rubble and straight up ground it up to build our
Yeah,
civilization.
that's true.
Well,
I never heard that before, but I like it.
yeah. Uh, It was,
Hmm.
I thought it was pretty, I didn't make it up. I thought it was pretty profound when I heard it as well. All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about the battery notion?
I mean, no, because I don't understand it enough to even be able to like formulate thoughts about it.
Would people be intrigued if we could like describe whatever alkaline blah 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 chemical thing was happening? Like, well, I also don't think the people who have that theory maybe have their science all the way worked out, because one would think if the science was all the way worked out, we would not be hearing about it in the context of conspiracy theories.
That's true.
Yeah. But then again, I'm going to revisit a topic from the last episode, because I think we kind of touched on this, the idea that the Sphinx appears to have water erosion to a great degree in a way that the pyramids and stuff don't.
Hmm.
And when they first found the Sphinx, it was buried up to its head. Like it was just its head that was uncovered for a long time. And then they figured out the body was under there, which means the severe rain-based erosion that happened to it would have been from a time before the pyramids, in which then it would have been covered up when whatever else happened and the pyramids got built and stuff. Because
So
even the
Sphinx came first.
oh yes, definitely. I think even mainstream stuff believes that it came first. But the head's new, right? Because the human head on it is like really tiny proportionally to the body. And
Hmm.
so to me, I'm like, well, duh, that's because it obviously had a lion head first. And then when you found it, it was just the head sticking out. It's because somebody fucking remade it. Are you kidding me? But the Sphinx is in the bedrock. Like they just carved it out of the bedrock.
Whoa.
Yeah. So anyway, so there are conspiracies abundant of that area, because I re-listened to one of the sources I had listened to for the conspiracy that the Sphinx is actually like 20,000 years old, and it was directly because of the water erosion, which now I'm thinking through makes sense, because if the Sphinx got carved out of the bedrock after, well, erosion, rain, 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 and
Wait,
then
so is it believed that it was intentionally covered or naturally? Because I would think it'd be naturally.
you might be right about that. Oh, I keep screwing that up. It's Göbekli Tepe that was the one that was they know to have been intentionally buried. And that's in Turkey. So never mind. That's off topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so true. But think about, we know that the northern chunk of Africa that's currently the Sahara Desert used to be green.
Hmm.
And then think about the Younger Dryas situation and how all that glacier stuff would have been built up and then flood.
Hmm. Hmm.
Might have covered a whole top of a continent with sand, one might think. Just saying. So what's under there? That's what I want to know. I really want to know what's
Oh.
under the Sahara Desert.
Oh my gosh. Imagine.
Because there's even like these V-shaped things you can see on satellite off the coast of Africa, which are like the formations that would be left if huge, and I'm talking huge, waves had come up and over the western coast of Africa, and then like receded and come up over and receded and come up over, like these little V's that we can see happen from that kind of thing happening are visible in the underwater landscape on a grand scale.
Whoa.
Yeah. So these little like ripple formations, like those
Yeah.
proportions are the same whether you're looking at the ripples. Excuse me, I'm getting all excited. Whew. Ah. Whether you're looking at the ripples like at the bottom of a little creek, or if you're looking at a flyover of Idaho from like the Missoula floods. It's just
Hmm.
that the scale changes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you're at the beach and you look down, like if the water's clear enough, you can see those V's.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're, small, like tiny compared to this, but I can completely picture what you're saying. I mean, I haven't seen it like on satellite images, but like I can picture the V's that you're talking about.
Yeah. The person that I was following, who's kind of a conspiracy theorist, but also, as far as I can tell, very intelligent and well read when it comes to geological things. His name's Randall Carlson. And so he's somebody who literally will just every day read some kind of geologic study. And the thing that he says, and I have to agree with this, is that what we have is we have a whole bunch of people who are very good, like scientists, at knowing their subject, but they're hyper into their subject. And so we get all the people who are hyper into their subject, and there's like professional codes of conduct where you don't want to play in other people's sandboxes and things like that. And while I do understand that, what I think is missing, and this is what Randall has said, is that there's no one looking at how that's all connected,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so
Yeah.
there may be phenomenon that two different schools of study are looking at, but they're looking at it from the opposite side. And so they call it something different, and no one knows that that's the same process or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're missing is those people who can like take in enough of all of it to connect up the important parts, if that makes sense. Am I
Well,
talking
this
nonsense?
actually kind of no, because this takes me like kind of reminds me of what we were talking about when we first started this episode before we even like really started the episode. Chat GPT. Apparently AI is doing that now. Like it's so
Oh,
I heard a story of this person that had stage 4 cancer, and the reason he was cured is because the chat GPT or AI or whatever sort of internet robot, like they put his symptoms or whatever, and they found this like random case, or not case study, like study being done in like France or something, like what do you call, like a trial, a medical trial. And so that wouldn't have happened. It could, because it wouldn't have normally been connected. But because ChatGPT was looking everywhere at all of the information, this person was cured of stage 4 cancer. Like he was super
amazing.
terminal, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, how much is that going to discover through word associations and stuff? Dang.
Yeah. Like it's still, of course, not a perfect system or
Sure.
anything like that, but there's a lot going, like happening with it, and a lot of good uses. And I think what you're talking about now is one of them. Like everything can be connected, and we can like really like start putting all the pieces together.
Damn. I like that. That
Yeah.
does make a lot of sense, because I've been trying really hard to understand as much of the world as I can to try to make connections. And there is a lot of world to understand.
Yes, there
I
is.
have discovered.
That's why I will never understand people that are just perfectly content with a very small life when there's so much life to understand and know and experience and see, and but people that are just like perfectly content doing absolutely nothing but like a dead end job, pick up your kids from school, go home, watch TV, do it the next day, never travel anywhere, never like pick up a hobby. I know a few of these people, and they are perfectly happy doing this. Where I'm like, what do you mean I have to spend the whole year in Oregon and not see the world, like until I can afford a vacation? Like to me, I just can't fathom like wanting to do that. Like to me, everything is like every time I like whenever I work and stuff, it's to get to the point where I can travel and experience the world. So I see the V's, and this is exactly what I picture. I'm gonna share my screen real quick.
Yeah. So
So
that coast
most,
had a
yeah,
rough time at some point in the past. and it probably sunk Atlantis, and it probably covered North Africa in sand.
And what was down there? Like what? You know what I mean? Like what? That is so crazy.
And remember that when the Younger Dryas happened, we got about 400 feet gain in sea level at the end of it.
Mm.
So, and remember that the coastlines would have been where the majority of people most likely lived. And so probably the evidence of all the past civilizations is hanging out just off the coast of Africa, South America.
How many other human species could there be down there?
Isn't that fucking cool to think about?
Yes. Because I mean, what we know is probably so small and like insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree. I want to know what's on Antarctica. I feel like that was whatever animals or humanoid dishness or aliens or something that cycled through the planet a lot longer ago might be under there, under all that ice. Holy fuck. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I would think that whatever lived there, it probably all died, or it was all this the same when Pangea split, and then that just didn't make it, and the rest of it did in different ways.
But before Pangea, that land
Yeah.
would have been elsewhere on the planet too.
Hmm.
I don't
I didn't know that.
know. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of I mean, obviously it's always in motion, so to take a snapshot and call it a layout, like Pangea, it's just a snapshot. Just like every critter is just a snapshot of an evolving line of species. Anyway, we digress, as we do. I need more weed. Come here, my little biscotti pancakes. That's nice. It's two glutinous things that I can't have IRL, so I'll just smoke the weed called that. I need weed called sourdough bread.
Can you eat sourdough bread? My friend is she's sensitive to gluten too, and she can eat sourdough bread. And she makes it herself actually. So she finds that the homemade stuff is doesn't bother her like the store-bought stuff.
I tried that. I was hoping that would be the case. I even made my own sourdough. Nope. Still made me itchy.
Well, that's too bad.
It is too bad. Well, then. So I don't know if this next one is a conspiracy, but I think it definitely contributes to some things that people use to support the conspiracies they are pushing, if that makes sense. Because what I want to talk about is sacred geometry and like mathematical, numerical, potentially concepts. And what I'm realizing is that that numbers just have cool patterns among them anyway, right? So this is my skeptical side right now, is that numbers just have cool patterns among them. And because that's the nature of how numbers work, but also the question of do numbers or does math, what's the question? Was math discovered or invented? I find to be a very interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think it's a valid question in the context of talking about all of this stuff, because there's things with the pyramid that I had to sit and think about, and I'm still not sure I understood it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I mean, there's some basic things with the pyramid where the golden ratio is used within it, and the Fibonacci sequence can be found within its layout, for all you number geeks out there. But I also think that those can be found almost everywhere.
Yes, they can. And like if
Right?
you look at a flower, so that's just how nature moves in that way. So I don't know, I don't know how, but I do think that that is just a way that we can conceptualize why.
Right.
Some people prefer numbers, some people prefer mythology, but everybody kind of needs an explanation. And I mean, I feel more comfortable with explanations of numbers and scientific evidence and stuff like that. Like that is where my comfort zone is. But I do think it's all a way for us to explain things that is just like big.
Right. Well, right. We're all looking for a metaphor to help us explain the things that make no sense, because at some point, probably every kid, I did this where I was like, wait a second, what are we doing here? And like, what am I? Like, why is this the thing that's here instead of something else? And
Mhm.
why are we here doing this life where we have these things that we're supposed to do and remember to be and say and wear? Like, that's weird. Is it just me? Do you have this moment? I think I
No,
was
not
validated.
not as much, no. But for me, whenever I heard something that sounded weird, I did question it. Like I didn't like blindly, believe things, but also I wasn't really trying to like I wasn't thinking back then when I was younger about how huge the universe must be. Like that I was wouldn't not have been okay with not understanding or not being able to even try to understand how huge the universe can be. Like it's so unfathomable. And that would have made me very uncomfortable as a kid.
That's interesting.
Or before a few years ago, like I actually had to work to be okay with not understanding things. So I was raised Catholic. So I was raised religious. So it's so you don't really like, you don't kind of don't question it. It's all God.
Oh, that is such a good point.
Because I was raised that that's just heaven up there. So
Right.
in my mind, it's just full of ghosts and stuff. Well, yeah. I mean, then I was like, I don't know, maybe like 8 years old, and I was like, hold on, how can everybody that's ever lived and ever died like live up there? That does that like how big can it be? And then anyway, it just kind of led to stuff where I stopped thinking about it after a while. But yeah, it was all God back then,
Right.
and it was more comfortable to think that.
Well, sure, because the questions are answered. You don't have to say, I don't know. Of course, that's more
Mm-hmm.
comfortable.
Yeah,
I
I
hear
had
that a
more.
lot in like the deconstruction circles is people, being happy and making the choice to deconstruct because they want to know true things. But then, yeah, it does leave you feeling like you're on that roller coaster where your feet dangle a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's why you got to make sure you got the shoulder harness and enjoy the ride.
I think you're more comfortable doing that than most people.
Well,
I can't.
I mean, I thought the world was for sure gonna end by now, and it almost seemed like it did, and then it didn't. So now I'm like, woohoo! Guess I don't
Or
have
what
to
if it
worry about
did and
that.
we just stepped into another universe? Like, you know what I mean? Like we just can't know. And that's the things that go on in my mind whenever people say things like that. Like my mind never shuts off. If I said everything I thought, I would absolutely never have any friends and never have anyone around me because that would sound crazy. Like even just now, I'm like, well, what if we stepped into another universe? What if the other universe still has dinosaurs in it? And like,
Oh, I love it.
so many possibilities.
I like the what ifs of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, you understand that it's a what if,
Yeah, I do. Yes.
right? You're not
Because
like,
maybe it's
I
all
think
just,
this actually happened. Yeah,
I just think it's a possibility. I think everything now is a possibility.
sure. Might be small possibility for a lot of those ideas, but that's okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. But I mean, there's so many ideas that are possible that it can't all fit. Like it all has to be small possibility, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know.
If everything was a big possibility, that would probably make me crazy.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah. I think the big possibility things are the things that we can verifiably see and understand going on around us.
Yeah. Or we're in the Matrix and really there's like aliens controlling us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My life actually got a
Or
whole
we're in a
lot better
video
when I
game.
when I was like, what if I just thought of my life as like a TV show and I'm watching this TV show?
Mm-hmm.
I was
Because
like,
what if
what?
that is what's happening? What if we're a digital world and somebody's just watching us right now and
Yeah.
in like a giant TV or whatever, or like a VR and just walking around like ghosts watching what we're doing?
Well, I kind of decided the point was that I need to like the TV show that I'm watching. So YOLO. And then when I finish this life, then I'll like wake up and be like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm an alien that's 5,000 years old, and I just took a vacation to have a human lifetime.
Yeah.
Whee! So the pyramids? Okay, this is good.
We have some like kind of crazy conversations sometimes. Like, okay, so just like you watch your life or like you present your TV show, if I was right now watching people, like, or if somebody is right now in a VR set watching us from a video game and from a 5,000-year-old alien or whatever, and they're watching us, that had to sound crazy just now. How many ways we just went with the possibilities of the world.
I am 100% good with it and here for it.
You never worry that you're gonna end up in a straitjacket somewhere.
No, because I can separate out. If I start not being able to separate out what is the like really exciting what ifs in my head with the like what
Yeah,
is right here in front of me,
that's true.
I
Yeah,
mean, if I was doing that, would I know? I'm not sure. But
yeah.
to me, that's the thing. So if I have moments where I'm like thinking some whole other thing is happening, and then later I realize, oh, well, before we were so rudely interrupted by ourselves being infatuated with the cool things in our heads, I was about to talk about the pyramids and the sacred geometry bits and bobs. So there's this notion that the Great Pyramid encodes the size of the earth. Shoot, now I'm trying to see where it was that it described that. I want to look this one up actually. Oh, I thought it was pretty fun editing the episode where we were looking things up.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it said that somehow the pyramid encodes the size of the earth, which I think has gotten a lot of backlash because there's this idea that, for a long time, historians have kind of looked at past civilizations as having been less advanced than us.
Mm-hmm.
And so things that might indicate that they were more advanced or had different advanced technologies than us, I think there's kind of a blind eye to it. Because
Yeah.
if we have this notion that we're the best, like we do, um, it makes us
Mm-hmm.
unable to see what's there. So I find that fascinating. Anyway, so let's see. So, okay, what it says is that the pyramid itself is sitting on a thing called a socle. So this is where you can still see the limestone stones because the socles have limestone on them, but that part was kind of like actually buried because it's sort of, I don't know, sort of a foundation. So it like adds a tiny bit of a dimension. Right? Because if they're trying to take dimensions of the pyramid and draw conclusions about the size of the earth from it, they're not going to want to go from the parts that are still left. They're going to want to go from what the original shiny, precise limestone size had been, right? So from the socle, the base pieces that are still there, they can calculate what that size is. Okay. So in two sides of the socle, so all four, it's a square on the bottom and then triangles up to the center. So when two sides of the socle are multiplied by 86,400, the equatorial circumference of the earth is represented. That doesn't make sense. Why does that matter? Well, yeah, if I multiplied this other thing by 23,100, I get this. Oh my God. Where'd you get the 23,100? I don't know. Pulled it out of my ass. Confused.
Yeah, that didn't
That did not, there was something else I found the other day that was like something about the square and the circle and the radius matched this when you multiplied it by that. And it was more complicated, but made more sense than this thing did. What do you know about this?
nothing.
Nothing.
To me, that wouldn't sound very different than if I said there's some sort of conspiracy to the Egyptian pyramids and me, somehow to me, because my laptop is 1,005,000 of a foot of, you know what I mean? Of like a proportion of that pyramid. Like it's to me, I feel like you could do that with anything. But maybe I wasn't really following too though.
Yeah, well, right. I'm looking at it a little deeper now, trying to figure out because I'm seeing that number again with like someone on Reddit with this whole explanation. I mean, literally, listen to this. It's crazy. Multiply the height of the Great Pyramid in feet by 43,200 and you get 3,949,834, which is virtually identical to the satellite studies of the radius of Earth. Okay.
You see, like, is that really different? Like,
Oh,
I
oh,
feel like you can do
oh,
anything.
oh, I got it. I got it. Okay. I think. Wait. Oh, why didn't they fucking start with this information? Therefore, we can say the Great Pyramid is a scale model of the northern hemisphere of the Earth by 43,200, meaning, among other things, every 2 seconds, the Earth turns half the distance of the Great Pyramid because there are
Oh,
43,200 seconds in 12 hours.
okay. That I could see.
Ah, see, people wouldn't think they're all crazy if they would put the actual explanation at the beginning. Instead, it's at the end of their whole thing. This is someone on Reddit, but that actually makes like that it comes together.
Yeah. Like, I don't know about the numbers, but I could see how the people from ancient Egypt would have known how big the earth was by using like where the sun was at the beginning of the pyramid and how long it took it to get to the other side or something like that, like I could see that and then estimate and then somehow mathing it to the whole thing. I could see that being like this is how they figured it out.
Sure. Well, okay, so here's the next comment. This is Reddit. I fucking love Reddit. It's like real people who think about things are on Reddit. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Okay. The next person says, it doesn't become less false if you keep posting it. Thanks, beta key takeaway. The numbers are fudged and don't work out. You fell victim to the charlatan, Randall Carlson. This is funny. I enjoy this. Okay. This says, I know finding out you've been duped is terrifying, but believing something untrue is worse. So, and there's a link here. So,
Are you
yeah,
gonna click on it?
I sure. Let's do it.
Wait, what if that's some sort of a spam or something?
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, it's like to another Reddit post.
Oh,
So this is a posted to the subreddit unpopular opinion, and it's the Great Pyramid of Giza encodes the dimension of Earth with time and space. So it's the same person, beta key takeaway. It's like seriously out here being like, fuck all you people thinking that this is encoded. Like literally they're the person saying no way on Reddit. It's hilarious.
that
Okay.
person is a troll. I think that's what.
Well, but they brought receipts. So should I go into it? This might be like a little too into the weeds. So you just tell me if I need to stop.
I'm cool with it.
Okay. So they're quoting Great Pyramid of Giza's height multiplied by 43,200 is equal to the diameter of the Earth. And they said, nope. I thought it was circumference because it
Well,
wouldn't be diameter because I thought what we just read said it was equal to the diameter of, or the circumference of the Earth.
hmm. See, now I don't see how they would have known how big the Earth is or the how big the diameter is that way.
No, I agree. So, but if it is a troll, this person would say the wrong thing and make it look like it was the quoted thing and
Hmm.
then debunk it. Maybe? I
Yeah.
mean, the misinformation game, like, holy fuck. People can
Or it
throw
could have been
out
a typo
lies.
and they like legit meant circumference.
True. Well, but
Maybe.
okay, so then the next line down where it says every 2 seconds at the equator, the Earth turns 43,200th of its total rotation, which is equal to the perimeter of the base of the Great Pyramid. And this says, nope, circumference of Earth, and gives numbers. Perimeter at the base of the Great Pyramid is different number.
But how? Yeah, because how would the perimeter have anything to do with that? It wouldn't it just be the length of it? Like not the length of the perimeter, the length of one side of it as the Earth rotates.
Right. I'm just confused because I feel like this person is debunking very technically looking, but not actually debunking the thing I think we just read. Am I
Hmm.
losing it?
See, now I think that it's possible if we start that now, like trying to figure out how people are thinking on these things. I think that's going to definitely take us into a rabbit hole where we're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
Yeah, right. I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Why don't we just live our life, make life better for other people, and have weird ideas in our head about being playthings for aliens? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind listening, like reading like people's ideas, random ideas, but it's whenever they start like the misinformation to like debunk someone else that I think it just gets like, no, we shouldn't spend our time on that.
Well, but think how easy it is to create misinformation that you can throw so much misinformation out by the placement of one kind of like a word that's wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And or like put in a whole bunch of things that are true or are kind of true, but then you twist something else in the end. And so the time it would take anyone to sit and debunk, like actually look these up and explain how they were twisting this information, it's like it takes 10 times longer to unpack the misinformation and show how they misled than it does for them to twist and throw out so much garbage. It's like a losing battle.
Yeah.
It like that thought has been gnawing at me actually. I'm kind of infuriated. Oh, this is like a whole thing on Reddit. I don't think we have time on the podcast for this one. This is like way too deep in the weeds for the size of the pyramids and the earth.
Hmm.
But I think we came to a good conclusion
Yeah.
that like it's interesting that maybe there's some connection with the pyramid and the size of the earth and showing that the Egyptians or some other civilization like knew way more than we give them credit for, which is cool. And I love thinking about that and sitting here and figuring out the math for who's having the debate about the actual size or not, or if this is true or not. I kind of don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I think that these old civilizations were way more advanced, or at least had the like high potential of, like there's a high possibility of it for me. But I think that sometimes people will be like, "Oh my gosh, they were so smart. Look at them having air conditioner in their pyramids." And then so now we have to figure out exactly how smart they are. And now we got to just look at every little detail and like this particular color of white that was the limestone on the thing is the same color white as the snow and whatever. And like, I mean, I feel like it can go so far
Yeah.
and like unhinged to a point. And so I think maybe maybe let's say somewhere in the middle of the or at least for me in my head, I rather stay in the middle of the spectrum of conspiracy theory instead of extreme.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I have a penchant for extreme though. Maybe it's my upbringing. But I have a hard time not becoming extreme with things. So that's like new for me to pull out of the extremes.
Well, if you can handle it, I can't. I have anxiety issues.
I
So
don't know.
I think if you can handle it and still like keep yourself separated, but then I start getting paranoid, and especially if I'm smoking,
Oh, yeah.
I start getting paranoid about that stuff.
Well, here's my problem. I'm not sure if I know what's extreme and what's not.
Oh,
I think extreme feels normal to me. And so that gets me in trouble.
maybe you think?
Mm-hmm. I do think so. I've started to give less fucks as I've gotten into my 40s though. So that's actually helping like bring the edges of my extremeness in a little bit and like drive up my attention to my effectiveness more. If that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to it now it's down and see if it makes sense.
Does that happen sometimes when you're editing? Sometimes things don't make sense.
Actually, no. We are
Oh,
fucking good.
good.
Yeah, the only time it doesn't is when one of us is talking and then we're like, wait, I forgot where I was going with that. And I mean, in the moment, we knew it wasn't going well. So there's no surprises later, actually. So I think that just means that we're hardcore enough stoners that it's just the baseline, maybe. It's at least a baseline for big thoughts, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get to the point where I give zero fucks about how I like how extreme I am with my thoughts and stuff. I'm not there.
Well, seems like a good therapeutic use of saying those things on the internet and seeing what happens.
I actually get anxiety about people like listening to my crazy.
It's a good thing we keep wanting to put more on the internet. Well, okay, so this one is not exactly a conspiracy theory, but I wanted to talk about the Giza pyramids. I'm getting tired or stoned or something. Imagine that. And and the claim that they are aligned to constellations.
Mm-hmm. That I've always heard, and I didn't think that that was disputed. I thought that was just like a something that it was observed.
Honestly, that's what I thought too, until we started doing this and I was looking into it, and it didn't seem as settled as I had imagined.
Hmm.
Yeah. But Orion, like 3 stars in Orion's belt, are definitely the biggest one, like the one that the most people kind of say aligns. But it's not the only one. Well, and the thing that they have to do when they're looking at this is they can't just look at what it's aligned to right now, because things have shifted over the,
Yeah.
2,500 years since they built it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. There's conspiracy theories that those are older too, of course. But so they have to, backtrack the sky and see what would have aligned back then.
But see this, I mean, and I don't understand it enough. I don't understand enough about astronomy at all. But it just seems like this could be another thing where there are pyramids and there are stars up there, and you can just pick three and say that, like, I mean, and a couple of thousand years from now, how many people are going to be like, look at the Empire State Building, it's pointing straight to the North Star when we stand right here. And like, so this means that, like, you know what I mean? But you could stand anywhere around it and not see the North Star. Or I don't know how the North Star works either. I really don't know as much about astronomy as I want to. It's so much to know.
Yeah. No, I agree on all of that. There's so much to know, and I wish I knew more and could understand it quickly. Because
Yeah.
wow, yeah,
And there's so much always discovered about it. Like I watch Astro Alexandra on Instagram. Her video, she's always explaining these things, and there's always something new. Like almost every day, there's something new.
she's a science communicator, right?
She does astronomy stuff. Like she explains
Okay,
what NASA, a black hole NASA found and stuff like that.
that's cool. I appreciate science communicators like that.
Yeah. I follow a few of them. And like during COVID, I also follow like some doctors and stuff that explain things in a way that I could understand that sounded real.
Right.
They'd be like, look at this article that came out from the CDC. This is what's coming out in the media. Actually, this is what this means. That helped me because the media was saying some crazy stuff.
Well, right. See, that's the thing. I feel like media should be that bridge between the experts and the layperson, but they're fucking it up because they've got too many moneyed interests
Yes.
wanting them to present it in certain ways.
Well, and also views get them more money, so like they're gonna say what's gonna get the most clicks on YouTube or whatever.
Ugh, we are so fucked because of the clicks.
Yeah.
Even if we let go of money now, our obsession with getting more clicks is gonna still fuck us over. God damn it.
This is why I have a theory, or not a theory, I don't know, a thought. I'm just gonna say it. I believe that power is the only real currency because money can change, attention can change. Like there's so much stuff that can change, but power is what matters, right? So if you have more power, that means you can get more clicks on the internet or more money, or you see, never mind. I can't follow my own train of thought right now. So I'm not even gonna finish that. But anyway, I don't remember why I said that. What were we talking about before that?
Oh, the other stars, the other constellations that the pyramids were potentially aligned to.
Yeah, I don't see, that was like a huge tangent. I don't even know how that how we got there.
I
But
mean,
okay.
this is part two of Blunt in the bedroom. So just remember, anytime this happens, we're stoned. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's true. Especially at this point when we're an hour in.
This is what I'm saying. I would much rather be doing a podcast where we get progressively more stoned instead of progressively more drunk. So
Yeah.
we're doing it right. Orion and Osiris. I wonder if they mean both. They're aligned with the constellation Leo, which was associated with Ra, so the sun god Ra. Yeah, I don't get it. I want diagrams. And then it also says they were aligned with the constellations of Orion and Sirius, which were thought to rise near the sun during the summer solstice. I noticed a lot of that if you look at ancient civilizations. They seem to have a lot of focus because they must have noticed, the arcing in how much sunlight there was. And that seemed important to them, and the notion of like a rising and dying god, I think, is even connected to that, right? So the worshiping of the sun um, is all of that, recognizing that the sun is staying with us longer and longer and longer, and then we start losing it and losing it and losing it, right? And the longer and longer is solstice, summer solstice, and then we start losing it. And then when it gets to the winter solstice, there's this thing it does where the sun, like, usually it rises just a little notch farther along the horizon every morning, as it travels in its orbital around, or around us. I was about to say, holy fuck. It's so hard to picture it the other way around, even though I know that's what it is. Anyway, but the sun like appears to rise in a slightly adjusted position down the horizon every morning. But then when we get to winter solstice, it doesn't do that for 3 days. For 3 days, it appears to come up in exactly the same place, like it's stuck.
Hmm.
And so it appears that ancient peoples were aware of this. And there's a lot of temples and edifices of different kinds that have some little slot or some like opening, and then like some, sacred space deep within the building that only on solstice does the light stream through that and like land on that inner sanctuary area. And
Hmm.
this happens all over.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So I think that ancient human, that's my conspiracy theory sort of in general. I just don't have the details worked out, but I do think there was ancient humans that had a whole lot more going on than we give them credit for.
Yes.
And I think the Earth's somewhat recent geologic and like climatic history was much more raucous and crazy than we either give it credit for or allow the population to be aware of.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like meteor, asteroid kind of crazy shit very recently that we deny in our history.
Really?
Yes, I do think that. So I think there's a whole lot more chaos than we are allowed to know as caged animals. So there's some of the crazy things in my head. So here we go. We're finally getting blunt in the bedroom.
That's a lot to process, and I think I'm too high to do it.
Yeah, I don't even care what stars the pyramids are aligned to at this point.
I'd love to go over there though. I want to go to Egypt so bad.
It would be really cool.
I mean, I want to go everywhere, but all the ancient civilizations.
Yeah. There's a there's a temple in India. I feel like it's more central India. It was a place I was not when I was there, but I saw something about it where much like the Sphinx, where it was just carved down out of the bedrock, and they basically like ended up creating a cliffside next to it, as they carved it away. So the same thing happened for this temple in India, and I could be way off, but I want to say it was about 1,000 years old. I could be off on that. But they had done almost that exact same thing. But I don't know if you've ever seen an Indian temple, but they're kind of like oblong base, and then the rectangles kind of get smaller and smaller as they go up. So it's still a little bit of like take a Mayan or Incan temple and sort of squish it and pull it up. It's, a little bit that look. But the way they did it, instead of cutting out big blocks and moving that and stacking it, is they just started at the top where it was solid ground bedrock, and they just dug down, and they just dug it out like the temple was sitting there the whole time, and they just needed to take away the part of the sculpture that wasn't the temple. Do you
Wow.
understand what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah.
got this like tiered cake layer shape
And they
of
had to
this.
have had a plan of how they were going to do it because I mean you can't wing something like that. Like you
I
need to know how big to make the head because that's going to determine like like I just feel like there had to be like a big plan there.
Right. Oh, you're talking about the Sphinx. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that one too. But yeah, this one I'm thinking is like it's this Indian temple where it's like it's got
Oh,
a small tier on the
yeah.
top. So they're going to be carving that out first. And then they carve out again to carve the next tier. And
Yeah.
it's intricate, right? It's not just a rough hewn stone structure with some cubbies in it. I mean, it's intricately carved with reliefs and things. And there was enough people, enough artisans who understood what the fuck they were doing, like spatially, and
Mm-hmm.
had the skills, had the bodily energy, and all did their job right.
And there had to be a lot of organization and stuff there too.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. We
Yeah.
fuck things up putting in a new kitchen floor now. Like, oh, I'm so scared for us. Like, we think we're advancing. I don't know. We might have that backwards.
I think well, I mean actually I think there's studies of that. Our brains are actually getting smaller.
Yeah.
They had to know a lot more before we had GPS and like timers on stuff and like instructions on everything. Like they had to know how to travel, how to get around without GPS, what they could or couldn't eat in nature, like all of that stuff. You had to use your brain a lot more back then. Now we really don't.
Well, I don't want to wholesale say that we shouldn't, like that we're going a bad direction. Because what if it's just that our brain, and this is evolution, right? Like our brain is just needing to figure out
Yeah.
what we need now. Because I don't think, we clearly don't have to remember all of our friends' phone numbers anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have to take up space with that. So, like, it's freed up for something.
And
But
we do use it for other things, for other information.
yeah. So we got to figure
Yeah.
out what to do that's not just hitting like and subscribe and click, 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 click.
Yeah. True.
Because that will suck all of our brain power up. But yet here we should have all this extra brain power to like actually understand the world. I know what we should do. We should all band together instead of looking at each other left and right. We should look all together up at the 1% and go take some shit down. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah,
Sounds delightful.
it does. But some of them are doing that now. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife apparently, she gives away a lot of money all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I mean, she's still very rich. Because I mean, she's a multi-billionaire, and
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize because she could give away like 80% of her money and still live very well, better than most like everyone. Like just never want for anything.
Oh, I think
And
she's made
most
it
of
her
them are
full-time
billionaires.
job to work as hard as she can to find places to give all that money away because that's
Yeah,
all she's going to do with it. It's awesome.
yeah, it is. And again, she's still gonna live very like she's still gonna be perfectly fine, even if she gives away like 90% of it. But if all billionaires did that, all the world problems would be gone.
Yeah.
Because who needs that much money? Who needs that much stuff? And they don't even pay taxes on it. Like it's just who
Can,
possibly needs 5 private jets?
can we for a minute talk about that these pharaohs who had these tombs in Egypt, they were the 1% of their day,
Mm.
right? And so when they were buried, they took a whole bunch of resources and literally had people killed because people who like knew stuff or attended were supposed to attend to him in the whatever next world had to be killed when he died.
Mm.
So like can we talk about that is the same energy that
Yeah,
hoarding billionaires are carrying right now?
all about
Right?
power. This is what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and royalty, and yeah.
Yeah, right. Because who were those pharaohs to demand that for their one life, all of that had to be lost to the world? And now we've got billionaires taking their private jet, to puddle jump places, to the mall or whatever. Not to the mall, but.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name? One of the Kardashians. She got had a private jet, and people were all like mad because she took it just to go like a 5 minute drive. Wasteful for what? There's
Yes. Well, that was great, really.
no reason.
All
Yes.
right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.